Welcome to A Story and a Song. This is Debra Cohen, and I survived Hurricane Helene here in Florida, so I am glad to be here broadcasting as usual. Today's topic is very helpful for those that are struggling with stray thoughts in the mind, people that can't focus, like my husband who has ADHD. And it's essential to have control of your mind. So today we're going to talk about what does meditation, mindfulness meditation, music, and jeepers, I forgot the third one. Anyway, if you're interested, it's one thing to control your thoughts, but it's another thing to try to remember them. Okay. All right. So what does mindfulness meditation and music have in common? And why do we achieve it? And how? Let's talk about it after this brief message.
Hello, this is Debra Cohen Music, and I'm so glad that you took the time to listen to my podcast, A Story and a Song. It's about my life, to share some wisdom and some mistakes, hopefully that we can learn from together and laugh at maybe, starting in the 80s in a new wave rock band in Boston with 2 singles that are still available on Spotify. Boston Nights and Dreamin'. And then on my worldly journey that we're all on, I morphed into a spiritually dominant being where I am a truth seeker and write songs of praise while having one foot in the world writing sync music. So listen up and share.
And this is Debra Cohen. And once again, I thank you for joining. If you're watching live, I am broadcasting Sundays at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Instagram. My handle is Debra, Debra, Cohen, Cohen, music, Dotcom. And if you're watching also on YouTube, my channel handle is Jewish Rock Music. Yes, I was a rocker in the 80s and opened up in my glory. I opened up for Joan Jett and have one CD called 80s. If you're interested, again, my name is Debra Cohen. So let's talk about meditation and being present in the moment. Some of us have a hard time with, I call it scattered thoughts, or when I went to counseling when I was younger and trying to weed out the negative thoughts. Some people call it stinking thinking, which doesn't only apply to when you're drunk. Some people just can't turn off those voices. And I learned through counseling first how to identify where that voice is coming from. We're talking about negative thoughts. And then to eliminate it by certain techniques. And one of them that we're talking about is meditation. Now, there's more than one kind of meditation, so I'm talking specifically about mindfulness meditation. And this interests me as a musician because one of the things that I have battled with in my music career is stage fright, worried about what people think of me when I'm up there trying to share my art. There's always people out there that are going to say something nasty no matter where you go. You can't live your life letting people control you with their negative thoughts that they tell you about. Those people are everywhere. And it seems like, you don't have to go very far to find them. They're in today's media. I don't know why people feed on negativity and sarcasm. It's a real shame. Kindness is becoming something of a rare treasure. But let me not get off topic. However, I will have a sip of my new mushroom coffee. I couldn't drink it straight because it was didn't taste very good. So I mix it with my regular coffee and I'm acquiring a taste. It's got health benefits. That's why I'm drinking it. Okay, so let's talk about this. The first book I'm going to mention briefly is called Jewish Meditation, and it's by Ari Kaplan, just to kind of make the setting. Oh, and Caudle Warren is in the house at IG. Thank you for listening. Okay, one of the most powerful uses of meditation is to gain an awareness of the spiritual. And this is so important, and I've mentioned it time and time again in my podcast. A lot of people don't even know that they are a spirit being in a physical body. It's called body-mind or body-mind-soul. And just think about when you leave this planet, your spirit lives on, but your physical body goes to the ground. So I'm talking about, some people call it the soul, some people call it the spirit, but they're synonyms, okay? So we're talking about spirituality. Although we may be surrounded by a sea of spirituality, we are not usually aware of it. Spiritual sensations are quite faint and usually overshadowed by the world of the senses. Where we have 5 physical senses, we have 6+ spiritual senses that you can actually learn to become aware of as you learn about this information. So if you're here today, listen up, okay? All right. Spiritual senses are quite faint, usually overshadowed by the world of senses. Even in a state of sensory deprivation, the self-generated thoughts of the mind tend to obscure spiritual sensations. So as I mentioned in the beginning, if you're struggling with multiple thoughts, dual thinking, and I'm not talking about schizophrenia. I'm just talking about uncontrolled thoughts, basics. As a believer, you're trying to pray. This is an example. And you start with, your prayers, no matter what language you are, and all of a sudden you remember something you didn't do. Oh, so I used to do that, and I learned when I started praying with this problem, to have a little notepad beside me with a pen, something to write with. So when that stray thought comes in, just quickly write it down and then dismiss it. And you will be able to do that. That's a good way to start practicing focusing on doing one thing instead of your mind all over the place. Okay? However, if a person can quiet down all extraneous thoughts, he or she can then tune in to the spiritual. And that's what we're talking about here today. This tuning in is what is known as the mystical experience in Judaism and in Christianity. Apostle Paul wrote in one of the epistles, he wished that everybody could know the mysteries. But it takes work. You have to have knowledge. So I'm sharing this knowledge with you. In this case, meditation is the most important technique of mystics all over the world. The most vivid experiences were those attained by the prophets in the Bible. Now, I know we're kind of going on a rabbit trail. Don't worry, I'm going to talk about music in a minute, but I just wanted to talk about those that are prayer people. Okay? In the biblical sense, a prophet is more than a person who merely sees the future. Rather, they are the ones who have a strong experience of the spiritual that they can use to garner information. When I pray, I've come to learn how to dismiss all those lingering thoughts that try to take you away from what you're thinking about. You can control your thoughts, but it takes knowledge of how to do it, which is what I'm sharing, and practice, okay, which is up to you. So when you are able to get to a single-minded, some people call it a mantra, where they actually have to speak something out loud because the body listens to everything you say. So if you choose something to meditate on or something that you want knowledge of from the spiritual realm, you say your request or statement or positive thought out loud and repeat it under your breath and think about it. Okay, so a prophet, we're talking about a prophet in the Bible that is not just a future teller, but they're in tune with the spiritual self and the dimensions of God as you know him or her. Rather, the prophet is one who has such a strong experience of the spiritual that he can, I'll just use he, so don't get hung up on he, she, it, whatever, that he can use it to garner information in the spiritual sense. Sometimes this information includes knowledge of the future, hence the popular conception of a prophet as one who sees what has not yet occurred. Nevertheless, the true prophet has access to many other truths besides knowledge of the future. It is important to realize the important role that meditation plays in the careers of the prophets of Israel. On its highest level, meditation can provide a person with an experience of God. This is what I'm talking about. It's bliss when you can achieve this experience, and I've also achieved it as a musician in a band, playing with a group of musicians that are just connected because it's family, friends, and they all know how to play in the groove. We used to call it the groove in the hippie days. Play in the pocket. It's a slang for musicians that you all know where the one is, and if you're a musician, you know exactly what I'm saying. It creates a euphoria. This is certainly the highest possible spiritual experience, to experience God in prayer. I'm flipping around, so stay with me. Our perception of God is often clouded by ego and anthropomorphism. Anthropomorphism, I don't use that word very much, so that we tend to see God as a mirror image of ourselves. Imago Dei in Latin, B'Tselem Elohim in Hebrew, the image of God in English, the Bible. By freeing the mind of these encumbrances, meditation can help us to open our minds totally to the experience of God. I do it, so I know this is true. In many religious traditions, including Judaism, this is the highest goal of meditation. So meditation is not to merely think about words, but to speak these words to God and welcome in his presence. So if this interests you, it's from the book Jewish Meditation by Aryeh Kaplan. Now let's segue, which is another musical term, into this book that I've been reading by Daniel Levitin called I Heard There Was a Secret Chord. Okay. I heard there was a... No, I'm not going to start singing. Okay, so listen up, people. The elephant in the room, the existential quandary, as it were, is what to make of different meditative states. Mindfulness meditation prompts its practitioners to dwell in the continuous present, gently observing their thoughts, emotions, and bodily sensations with curiosity, devoid of judgment or preconception. This is the state that most musicians aspire to when playing music. And as a musician, I can say this is true. It's lovely to be able to, and I'm telling you, because for me it takes work. I was not a very confident young musician. I relied on drugs and or alcohol to blur out those negative faces and thoughts around me and within me. But it cost me my career because I didn't control the drugs, if there's such thing as controlling them. They controlled me, and I lost my way. So one of the reasons I'm sharing this is to help people that maybe have stage fright and they can't get up there unless they're half in the bag. I opened up for Joan Jett and in Boston in the 80s, and that woman has her stuff together. She's still out there performing today. And I just got lost in the party wagon. But I'm here to make a comeback, and I'm sharing my mistakes so maybe you can learn from them and not do what I did. But when you're young, you're not going to listen to people anyway, right? Okay. For both meditation and playing music, this means that the brain needs to deactivate circuits associated with self-consciousness and with judgment. The finger-wagging school teacher in your brain that is saying that's terrible. Or like my mother said, your singing is terrible. Or you're not good enough. How many of you have heard these or hear them in your brain today when you're trying to focus on feeling good about yourself? You can't do it because those thoughts are controlling you, or the bullies that say nasty things to you, and those thoughts play over and over again. Been there, done that. Okay, so that school marm is useful when you're editing, but another word I don't use here, anathema to creativity and spontaneity. Yeah. Okay, so I've already explained it in general terms. I'll talk about me trying to get up there on stage, and somebody said something nasty about me. Maybe they were joking. That sarcasm is really a sickness. A lot of people exalt Mark Twain because, he sold a lot of books, but he was a drunk and he was very sarcastic. Sorry if I offended one of your favorite authors. But, I can't deal with sarcasm. My mother was sarcastic, and so I'm hypersensitive to it. And I don't like to be around people that are sarcastic. They think they're, telling a joke, and they lace it with their anger or not feeling good about themselves. And they put other people down because it makes them feel better about themselves. Those are called bullies. They're everywhere, even in, congregations. All right. Neuroscientist Charles Limb of UCSF, then at Johns Hopkins University, found this when he put jazz musicians in a brain scanner and asked them to improvise over difficult chord progressions. During improvisation, he found deactivation in the region that is associated with effortful problem solving and self-consciousness. Okay, and this book really gets into technical terminology, which I'm going to skip over because I want to keep it general, because if this is a topic that you don't yet know, I'm not going to do a deep dive today. It's just to introduce you to this book. I heard there was a secret chord, and I'm going to skip ahead. While I'm looking for my next page, I'm going to share with you a commercial, and I'll be right back.
Have you heard of Zion? Where some people still believe in God's kingdom. His holy name is placed there in the Bible, in the heart of Jerusalem. And all nations will know your name. Hallelujah.
And this is Debra Cohen. I'm back, and that was my song that I just released 2 weeks ago, Zion. And I released that because a lot of people are offended by the term Zionist today. They think that it means occupier or colonialist regarding Israel, and they don't realize it's in the Bible. Zion is mentioned 152 times in the Bible, and the Zionist that I am is one who believes in Israel's right to exist, and I believe that because I know, according to the Bible, Zion is Jerusalem, the holy city where the Messiah will come and redeem us all. Jerusalem will be a light for all nations, not just the Jews. And I hope that you believe that. It would at least consider that if you're a Bible ascriber. If you're not, well, I appreciate your acceptance. Today, in today's day and age, in the 2024, at least in the States, the freedom of speech has gone way too far, where, again, people spew hateful comments at each other, and it's terrible. I mean, anyway, okay, let's get back on topic. All right, different flavors of mindfulness meditation yield distinct effects on brain function and connectivity mediated by specific neural networks. Whoa, now I'm getting a little technical, not as deep as it was, that's why I skipped ahead, but maybe you're curious how your brain works in a general sense. If you really want to know the details, I get the book by Daniel Levitin. I heard there was a secret chord. Okay, so we're talking about focusing, how it helps musicians when they're performing or singing or whatever to be able to get to a higher level of singing where you're not self-conscious anymore. You're not worried about what people say, whether they like you or not. You're just in there sharing your art with people that want to experience what you're doing without throwing tomatoes at you or whatever. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, and then in prayer, we definitely want to be single-minded when we go into praying. And if you can't do that because of the negative thoughts, well, there is a way to get rid of those negative thoughts, fight them off. And I mentioned a beginning technique. And then, of course, praying in meditation, they call it meditation. Meditation is becoming much more widely accepted. It used to have a negative connotation, like in my generation, they thought that only Hindus meditated. When the Beatles went off into Never Land with the yogi there, people think it's only for Hindus or whatever, but that's not true. It is now accepted and even taught in public classrooms. Yoga is being taught in a general sense. There's more than one kind of yoga. There's more than one kind of mindfulness. We're just talking right here about one size fits all with a little bit of my Jewishness thrown in there, okay? Take what you can, glean what you want and learn from it to help yourself and others. So focused attention meditation anchors one's awareness on a singular point, our own breathing, or a mantra, as I said, an expression, our own bodies. This practice increases neural connectivity in the left hemisphere of your brain involved in attention and working memory. The left inferior frontal gyrus and the left inferior parietal lobe may enhance these cognitive processes. During opening monitoring meditation, where you're starting to practice meditation, you're sitting in a chair or standing, and the instructor or the yoga teacher says, like I'm a yoga teacher, take a breath in through your nostrils. Let's do that. And then exhale twice as long through the back of your throat, thinking about you have the letter O at the opening of your throat. Or you can make the letter O with your mouth. Exhale twice as long. You want to put your hands over your navel, your belly button. You take a breath in. Feel your belly expanding under your hand. And then exhaling twice as long through the back of the throat. Feel your belly sucking in. You're trying to work those diaphragm muscles, which are very important for singers. Okay. Let's see, where were we? You allow, when you're doing this monitoring meditation, which I just demonstrated for you, to the present moment, allowing thoughts and sensations to arise and pass without judgment, while maintaining an open and curious attitude toward the experiences that arise. You're opening up yourself in a safe environment. This style of meditation increases connectivity in the right hemisphere, specifically between the right superior temporal gyrus and the right insula, regions involved in interoceptivity, which are the sense and perception states of the internal body, and body awareness. Compassion or loving kindness meditation, as practiced by the Dalai Lama, directs one's attentions to feelings of love, empathy, and goodwill toward oneself, toward others, and ultimately all beings. Can you see why this is useful, not only as a musician, not only in prayer, but for our world to practice this kind of Dalai Lama meditation. Loving kindness increases connectivity in both hemispheres of the brain, suggesting a more integrative pattern of neural coupling. I'm talking about the nervous system here. Increased connectivity between the anterior cingulate cortex and the medial prefrontal cortex involved in social cognition and emotion regulation suggests loving kindness meditation may enhance empathy and positive social emotions. So again, loving kindness meditation may be something that you're interested in looking into. What all of these forms of meditation have in common is a certain degree of meta-awareness. I'm not talking about Facebook meta. That's not what I'm talking about, okay? And that distinguishes them from the mind wandering, okay? This is the difference between being aware of something and being aware that you are aware. In mind wandering, you're aware of what you're thinking about, but time and space seem to disappear. Hence a friend snapping his fingers directly in front of your face and snarkily saying, "Earth to Dan, Earth to Debra, Earth to Debra." Yeah, okay, yeah, I was in the zone. All right, don't interrupt me when I'm in the zone. Okay, meta-awareness is a double-edged sword. It can help you understand consciousness and conscious processes. It is what allows the student violinist to be able to step outside the sheer joy of listening in order to study how to play the instrument. That same meta-awareness, however, can prevent us from becoming fully absorbed. When that happens, we hear only the flaws in our performance. Yeah, I know very well about that. Okay. We sit at the concert and analyze what's happening rather than synthesizing and experiencing it. You know, the critic that's in the audience and makes a big deal because you tripped over your guitar chord or whatever, you know. Take a loving kindness meditation class, please. Okay. Richard Davidson frames it this way. I'm talking fast because I'm running out of time and I have to go to a rehearsal. Across a range of traditional and contemporary contemplative traditions, the absence of meta-awareness is viewed as an impediment to various forms of self-monitoring, self-regulation, and self-inquiry. Some meta-awareness is clearly necessary, but too much of it robs us of truly becoming one with those things in life we care about most. The idea of becoming one with the music or the world is famously part of the Buddhist teaching. The Dalai Lama, for example, meditates 4 hours every day in order to strip away his sense of me, I. Yes, and experience how interconnected all of us are. I could sit here and think, I am the Dalai Lama. There is only one Dalai Lama. Very lonely. I can think, I am a Buddhist monk. Thousands of monks, so less lonely. Instead, I think, I am only one of 8 billion people. Not lonely. These aren't just words for him. He lives this, practices it, and finds great calm and compassion without sacrificing either awareness or meta-awareness. To pull off this trick of having both at the same time can take a lifetime of practice. And that's where I'm going to end this wonderful book. I heard there was a secret chord. This is for us to realize we're not alone in this world. We need to change the dynamics of debating. The art of debating taught in public high schools, at least it's supposed to, is, the lawyers know this very well, to debate without being snarky. But I don't think, in this day and age, one of my favorite TV shows, Suits, is all about lawyers that are nasty to each other. And I'm like, after a while it gets old. Seriously, let's try to practice loving kindness. It's a lifetime. It's not, I'm there now, so I don't need to practice anymore. It's a lifetime practice. Could you possibly meditate for 4 hours a day? I couldn't. My schedule doesn't allow it. But carve out some time in your schedule, you and me, to practice good thoughts. Think on only those things that are pure, lovely, noble and of good report. Ditch some of the time you spend looking at the nasty media, the media that doesn't feed you just the facts, man. You know, the media that has to make drama out of the political scene, and he hates her and she hates him, and let's make this world a better place, seriously, instead of like trying to outdo each other with hateful things. Bullying is still around today. It was in high school. When I was in high school, it's still there. It's worse. No matter how the government has tried to implement bullying programs in school, they haven't worked. It's got us. Let's bring loving kindness meditation into the classroom, into our congregations, into our homes, into ourselves. Can I get an amen? Okay, I know. You're done listening. Okay, so thank you for listening. This is Debra Cohen, a story and a song. I hope you will share this with somebody. Maybe you want to tell somebody that's always complaining, like in a congregation even. They come in and they got to unload on you. Maybe you can share this podcast with them and they'll get the hint maybe about trying to speak good words to other people. Don't unload on your friends. Go to a shrink, okay? All right, so I hope to see you next Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, right here on A Story and a Song. Yes, indeed.
Have you heard of Zion, where some people still